the fact that it's kind of hard to understand, or it seems a little bit under the radar, makes people more curious about it. If you paint the whole picture of it, maybe you've lost an opportunity to have a good conversation with somebody who would have employed their own curiosity to learn more.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris, and you're listening to Soul and Science. Fast forward your marketing mind in about 20 minutes. This week, I'm joined by David Wilkie, CEO of World 50. As CEO of World 50, David's responsible for the strategic direction, growth, and development of the company. David joined the company 17 years ago and has been CEO for the last 11. Founded in 2004, World 50 consists of private peer communities that enable board directors, CEOs, and C-level executives at globally respected organizations to discover better ideas, share valuable experiences, and build lasting relationships that make an impact. The executive network has grown to incorporate G100, a peer learning, development, and networking community for the world's top performing companies and their leaders, working with more than 3,000 leaders globally. World 50 serves more than 1,100 companies across more than 30 countries on 6 continents. Prior to joining World 50, Wilkie held several roles at Hess Corporation, including president of Hess Microgen and vice president of marketing and business development. He earned his master in management from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University and his BS in electrical engineering from the University of Florida. We are pleased to have David with us. I consider him a friend and almost a mentor in a way, David. I always reach out to David whenever I have a question about business because he's seen so much action. He's definitely learned a few things that not all of us know. So let's dive right in. Today's episode theme is the power of peer communities, the importance of building tight-knit peer networks, which is really what World 50 is all about. So David, let's kick it off. Did you think you would end up where you are today? What did you think as the David in school that you would do for a career?
Jason, it's great to be with you and your audience. Thank you for inviting me. You've been an inspiration to me over the years, so the feeling is mutual. I'm not a person who plotted out my career moves. I was a person who just tried to do the best work I could in whatever I was doing. And, I had the good fortune, I guess, of opportunities came my way, and more often than not, they were good opportunities. And, I guess I seized some of them that sort of lent to the career journey I've been on. But no, I did not think that. I mean, I was on a marketing journey really, and really loved just being sort of in a role that was, customer centric and trying to be that bridge between what the company was doing and its customers. So that I thought that would probably be my career path. I felt I'd probably become a CMO and go down that path. But fortune offered me a turn of directions, and here I am at World 50.
You took the opportunity. You've been there 17 years. So the opportunity obviously paid off because as a curious person, you would always naturally be thinking about what's next.
Yeah.
You seem to have found your niche and stuck with it because it must be incredibly rewarding. And you're almost like you're running a company, but you're kind of constantly learning at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I should be one of the best leaders in the world because I spend my time listening to and talking to many of the best leaders in the world. Both of us know it's not so easy to plagiarize great leaders and be one yourself. So that's an ongoing personal journey that I'm on. But yeah, I sort of have 2 paths of curiosity. One is in my role as CEO and trying to figure out how to, build a company that thrives both for our clients and equally, if not more so, for our associates. That's my one path of curiosity, is how do I do that? And then the work that we do helping our clients, I get to participate in. And Jason, you and I have, been in many of those programs together. So, just learning from some of the best minds in the world on any given topic, not just business, but in some cases way outside of business, and just, filling notebooks with notes and ideas and stuff that stretch your mind. And that's just a great experience to have.
If you're at a cocktail party and someone's like, oh, you're the CEO of W50, what's your elevator pitch?
It's really, it's funny you mention this because it is hard to explain. And you find yourself, if you're going to go, we had this internal meeting one time where we wanted to give everyone in the company an easy way to explain it. So we did a little internal contest, and the brief was you're going to go to a wedding and you're going to have to say what World 50 is 50 times. And you need an easy answer to that question so you don't spend your whole time at the wedding explaining the company. And the winner was we put executives in groups so they can learn from each other. Really short and sweet. So that's really the nutshell of it. Our product is also our customers. They're synonymous. So we call them members. So the executives are members, but really they join not for us. We're the facilitators. They join to learn from each other. And if you're in, a demanding role, which I'm sure most of your listeners are, in companies where there's a lot at stake and you're trying to make decisions, and the consequences of those decisions can have high gravity, either for you or for your company or for your team or for your clients. We just believe the best way to sort of get ideas and vet your ideas is through conversations with people who have the same stakes, but in a different company, seeing the world differently than you do, brings diversity of thought to your decisions. So that's in a nutshell what it's all about.
I think I've been a member maybe approaching a decade, actually, I think
that's right.
Which has been a while. So I remember when I was so excited about it, and I had to explain it to my CFO so they could pay the membership dues.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent a website that had nothing on it.
Yeah.
Except it was exclusive by nature on purpose.
Yeah.
And then subsequently I asked someone for some member lists and paperwork and stuff like that.
Right.
But how do you, and even thinking about like, oh, David would be great on this podcast, but he'll probably say no because it's under the radar. Mm-hmm. What do you think the exclusive nature and sort of under the radar profile does for your brand?
I think there's two perspectives on it. The first is, and this, kind of goes to your opening introduction on, building the power of a community. Trust is an imperative in having a high quality community. You have to have trust. And trust has to be a two-way street. So if Jason, you've got something you're looking for ideas on, you have to trust that, that I'm going to give, you have to have trust in me to share deeply what your challenge is. Because I could use it against you in the marketplace if you shared something you're really trying to work on so you got to trust me. And then likewise, I have to trust you because I may have this amazing idea that I really kind of don't want to share. And so I have to have the reciprocal trust. So for us, for World 50 and our clients need to have a high degree of trust. And most of that trust, or a lot of that trust, is built on privacy or confidentiality or candor or Chatham House rules or all those different versions of that language. And so for us, we don't splash our clients on our website. We don't, proclaim a lot about what we do because we believe our members want it to be all about creating that privacy. So that's I think, kind of a first point. The second point is, there were times when we thought about having this amazing kind of web experience for our members, and the gentleman who runs our membership development, so the person who vets new members and gets new members onboarded into our community, always said, no, I don't want the website to change. And I always thought, well, your job would be so much easier if people had it on the web and they could understand it and maybe wouldn't have as many questions for you and so forth. He goes, no, because, the truth of it is the fact that it's kind of hard to understand, or it seems a little bit under the radar, makes people more curious about it. They lean into, I've never heard about this. I want to learn. And it comes back to, again, the curiosity word, which is if you paint the whole picture of it, maybe you've lost an opportunity to have a good conversation with somebody who would have, employed their own curiosity to learn more. So it's lent itself in an unexpected way, if you will, in that regard.
And do you have Okay, so I got part of it's protecting members, that exclusivity nature, and then the curiosity, because people are like, wow, what is this? And does that also apply to if you have a summit and you want to have a guest speaker come? Does that apply to the amazing, and I don't know, you can name some of the best speakers you've had, but it's always impressive who you guys get for your summits. How do you get them to say, yes, I'm going to come speak to this group?
So many times, and I mentioned, sometimes way outside of business, many times the folks were asking to come participate in those conversations. And it's very much to spark a conversation, not to present to the community, as you know, but to lead those conversations or be part of those conversations, are people who aren't really accustomed to doing that kind of thing. They're not really quote unquote speakers. Sometimes they don't understand at all why we've asked them to do it. They tell us, no, I don't do public speaking. I don't do that sort of thing. And we say, no. We're asking you a different thing. We're asking you to jump into a room with, 50 executives who have these kinds of roles and have a conversation on this subject that you just happen to be one of the smartest persons in the world on. And our format is just going to be conversation. You don't bring any slides or anything. We're just going to talk, and you can ask questions of them. They're going to ask questions of you. We just want to have a conversation around this topic. And what that has permitted us to do is get people to come into those kinds of, conversations that just never would otherwise. A few years ago, we kept hearing from our members this, they wanted to make faster decisions. And a colleague of mine happened on the idea of trauma teams. Oh, wow. And then took it one step further and thought, no, not trauma teams, pediatric trauma teams. Long story short, they gave unbelievable insights into how they go about making these decisions and how they practice in between actual, episodes so that they get better in real time when the stakes count. And so that's a good example of looking outside where you would expect. You don't go figure out how to make faster decisions as a company by just trying to find companies who make fast decisions. I mean, you could do that, but we think going further afield is more insightful.
Right. Yeah. You get way more insight thinking about it differently than somebody that's in your industry or in your business.
Exactly.
You and your team have grown World 50 quite a bit in the past 11 years. Do you have like rules that you go by that you found as, by trial and error, the best ways to do that?
Yeah, no, I'll give you one of my favorites. Yeah. So one of the things I like to do whenever I'm meeting leaders for the first time is to ask them the question, like, what's your management hack? Or what's your leadership hack? Everybody has a great answer to that question. In fact, probably the mistake I've made is not carrying a notebook around and just logging only the answers to those questions. But one time a CEO gave me the answer, said micromanage. And I said, and he looked at me, and because you could say I was looking at him kind of puzzled. He goes, I know. Everyone tells you don't micromanage. It's terrible. He goes, well, here's the real truth of it is 80% of your business, of any business, has to be good. But 20% of it has to be unbelievably good. It has to be the part that differentiates you from everyone else in the marketplace. Your job as CEO is to know what that 20% is and then to micromanage it. And he said, not really micromanage it, but that's where you need to spend your time and energies on that 20% that makes a big difference. And so for me, I've really thought about that. And, in World 50, it's the product experience or the member experience. So I spend a disproportionate amount of my time on the experience that you, Jason, as a member over the years have experienced. I view that as the most critical part of what we do. So I think for any business, whether you're in the community business like we are, or any other business, it's like know the 20% that drives the most value and most differentiation for your work or for your company, and devote a disproportionate amount of your energy there.
Oh, I love that one. How do you keep it fresh? Like, how do you always keep it fresh and not have it be like, wow, that summit was similar to the last one and I didn't get a lot from it. So how do you keep it fresh?
You've totally you totally have the insight on, and which is why I spend so much of my time on the experience, as I was just saying. But you've nailed it on the keep it fresh. Years ago, we had a third party do interviews of members, and that was like the number one thing. And we got, some of them were quoted, which I re-quoted many times. Is, I thought I'd be a member for a few years, and then it'd kind of get, it would start to feel the same, and then I would, then I'd depart. But I've stayed a member for year after year after year because they keep it fresh. They keep changing it. So for us, we have this term, make vases, break vases. So you build something and you can enjoy it for a moment, and then you take that vase and you smash it on the ground and you start over with a new vase. And so we just don't rest on our laurels. We just can't repeat stuff. You always have to look for the new idea. We have this term, stay ahead. We like to tell our clients we're in the business of helping them stay ahead. The only way we can help them stay ahead is if we are ahead. So we have to be ahead of them, helping them look around corners, using that curiosity that I described. And then, every time we build a beautiful Ming vase, we celebrate it, and then we smash it on the floor and we go build another one.
You've done a good job explaining the soul of World 50 and how to build communities, curiosity, alignment of purpose, member experience, keeping it fresh. What do you think the science or the data part is?
We are big on the data. So we have a term that we like to use, artisanal at scale. So we want your experience, Jason, to feel handcrafted, like it's built just for you. And in many respects it is. You've got someone on the World 50 team who's always thinking about your interests and will handcraft the membership to you. But to do that for 3,000 members, you have to have systems. So we capture a lot of data on what our members care about and what topics they're interested in and things of that nature. And we're always looking to use that to their benefit. So if they're interested in a certain topic, we want to be able to direct them to places they can get ideas or insights on that. Or many times, and this is part of being a member, is we'll connect you with other executives who are working on something that's, like what you're working on. Maybe they're 6 months ahead of you and they've just broken through the ice a little further than you, and they can share those experiences and provide a shortcut or two. That means we have to know who those executives are. So I think the short answer to your question is just knowledge, just having knowledge. Knowledge gives you power in a customer service business, and you see it in all the best brands that we frequent in our own lives. When they know you and they can handcraft it to your preferences, you enjoy the experience much better.
How do you think communities are going to change in the future? When we talk about peer communities, I think you've alluded to a lot of it, but do you, always thinking like one step ahead, how do you think the future might change communities?
I think a big influence on the future of communities is Amazon and the reviews on Amazon. So if you're buying a vacuum cleaner or a new electronic gadget for your home or, a gas can for your boat, and you're on Amazon, you're reading the reviews. And you're reading through those reviews to try to get, insights on that product that you're about to purchase. I think that is going to increasingly permeate the business world.
I love that. Because it ties into sort of how I wanted to wrap it up, which was there's events and there's large communities and there's learning that you can get a lot of different places, but tighter knit peer networks, that's different. And that is, it's a different connection. It's more intimate. It seems like that's why you guys have done so well, I think. And I think that is sort of the future of networking in a way is done much more intimately than at large scale. And I think it's similar to, the rise of influencers in marketing and the Amazon reviews. And it's really that peer-to-peer, those 5 friends giving you advice is worth a lot more weight in gold than, finding your information elsewhere.
It is. That's the thing. You're going to have a small groups of people you're going to rely on, and different groups for different things. The folks I call on for vacation advice are going to be very different than folks I call on, for some purchase, big corporate purchase decision that I'm making. But I'm still using the same mechanism. It all comes down to that where we started off the conversation, which is who do you trust, whose advice, who's battle tested on the kind of, advice you're looking for. And that's always going to give you the best insights.
That's awesome. All right. So I have a couple of questions for David. David, the person, not David, the CEO. What are some of your role models? And if it's not role models, books or movies or, something that impacted you at some point in your life that made you who you are today?
It's a good question. I'll cite one of my favorite authors. I guess she's a little bit of a role model because I just think the world of her. And also her book is Doris Kearns Goodwin, Team of Rivals, which is one of the best business books ever written. And it's not a business book. It's a, story of, Lincoln's presidency and particularly how he built his cabinet among using his people who were his rivals in the political landscape, even including people who would run against him as president. And it basically all came down to, the making better decisions, and in today's day, you want, this notion of the value of diversity is really what you're chasing is cognitive diversity. I mean, there's lots of other reasons for inclusion and diversity, but in a business decision-making sense, you want diversity of thought and diversity of perspective for making better decisions. And Lincoln was one of the best as a president of gathering that input from people who thought very differently than him and using it to make some of the biggest decisions in the United States history. So if you haven't read it, go read Team of Rivals, and Doris is one of the most beautiful persons in the world.
Oh, it's awesome. I love that. I wish it's interesting how far we've come from diversity of thought in the political landscape today.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite quote or a mantra or something that you always think about? You gave us the Vases one for the business. Do you have a personal sort of mantra or a quote that you always go back to?
I've got a favorite word.
All right.
A single word. And the word is essence. And a mentor of mine gave me a definition of it. It may not be the Webster definition of it, but this is the definition I use. So for essence, that without which that which is not. And if you think about it for a moment, its only way to describe essence is that if I remove it, you now recognize it by its absence. So what is Jason's essence? What's the essence of mechanism? What's the essence of, anything? You don't really know it until you examine that thing without it. And then you're like, oh, that's the essence.
The essence of peer communities, which I think we all learned here, is really they're built on trust, curiosity, alignment of purpose, focusing on the member experience, and then build a vase and then break it. Always keep it fresh, because it's very hard to build these communities, and it's even harder to keep these communities going. So, very great learning here.
Jason, you have a part-time job with us helping facilitate our conversations after this interview.
Okay,
Be careful.
Great.
What we're going to ask you to do next. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you to your audience for listening. Thank you for the invitation. I'm a big fan of you. I think the work your mechanism does is really a difference maker in the world. So congratulations on all your success.
Well, thank you. And this was great. And I'm glad we could learn a little bit about the elusive World 50. This was a great conversation. So thanks for being on. Soul and Science is a Mechanism podcast produced by Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, Tyler Nielsen, Emma Swanson, and Lily Jablonski. The show is edited by Daniel Ferreira with theme music by Kyle Merritt. And I'm your host, Jason Harris.